about $8, so we gave up on those dreams, bought a dollar water outside of Yankee Stadium, and then headed inside with no problems bringing in our tons and tons and tons of food. Then we climbed the steps all the way to the tippy top of Yankee Stadium. And then by our seats, we saw a big alcohol-free sign. So we couldn't have gotten a beer even if we tried. That means our total for our trip to Yankee Stadium capped out at $23.45. That is less than a trip to the movies with a big popcorn and a soda.
Wow. Now, did anything stand out to you while you were there at Yankee Stadium other than that extreme heat you described?
While I was walking around looking for a bite to eat, I did realize that the area around Yankee Stadium is vibrant. There are bars, there are restaurants, there are so many people selling knockoff Yankees merch. So another cheap get if you're into that. And it reminded me that next time I'm heading to the Bronx to go catch a game, explore a little. There are a million cheap bites that you can get as long as you're looking.
Wow. Now, on the Citi Field, what was that like and how much did that cost?
So again, we looked for the cheapest tickets available to watch the New York Mets play the Cincinnati Reds on a Tuesday. That'll come in later. But our tickets were a little more expensive for the Mets game. They came out to $14.49. Producer Daniel Shapiro and I headed all the way to Queens. You know, it was a beautiful day. That was a win for our Citi Field experience. But you know how I mentioned earlier that Yankee Stadium is surrounded by bars and restaurants? Citi Field is surrounded by a parking lot. So we couldn't get some last-minute food like we did at Yankee Stadium, and we decided to get our ballpark food inside. While we were walking in the door, we did get one thing that we weren't expecting. If you didn't know, this year is the 40th anniversary of the New York Mets' 1986 World Series win.
Yes, it is.
So they were handing out free T-shirts to the first 15,000 attendees of the game, free of charge, or at least included with the ticket price. So we headed inside and started searching for a bite to eat before the game started. That's when the Tuesday comes into play. The Mets, on every regular season home game, run a $5 Tuesday special. Wow. This includes familiar favorites like, hot dogs, popcorn, soft pretzel, a cold beer. And that was our ballpark food for the day. I got a hot dog, a box of popcorn, and a cold beer that came out to, I think, $16.40 for my meal.
Wow.
We then trekked all the way to our seats in section 505 this time, and I chomped down on my early dinner during first pitch.
Wow. Now, great experience, it sounds like, at both places, but at Yankee Stadium and then compared to Citi Field, and the winner is?
For those that were keeping track, the winner is Yankee Stadium by about $7. And I know, I got a beer and the free T-shirt at Citi Field, but marginally cheaper to my trip to Yankee Stadium. But hey, both teams lost while I was there, so there was no real winner anyways.
That's WNYC's Veronica Del Valle. You can read more about Veronica's adventures in the Bronx and Queens in our newsletter about what to know and where to go in New York, Looped in NYC. Veronica, thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
WNYC is supported by the Tribeca Festival, returning June 3rd through 14th, featuring live tapings of the New York Times Cannonball with Wesley Morris, On with Kara Swisher, and more. Tickets at tribecafilm.com.
Thanks to the financial support of members like you, WNYC is independent and available to everybody. Did you know that your donation could be doubled or even tripled? Many companies match charitable contributions made by their employees. To find out if your employer participates in a matching gift program, just visit our easy search tool at wnyc.org/match. Thank you.
Shakespeare in the Park is back, and the season is kicking off with a production of Romeo and Juliet. On the next All of It, 3 of its stars join us to talk about performing the classic tragedy Under the Stars in Central Park. Plus, author Ann Patchett talks about her latest novel, Whistler. I'm Allison Stewart. Join us for All of It, weekdays at noon on WNYC.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Let's check in with London and see what they're working on. Hello, London.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Regina Vaidyanathan on today's NewsHour. President Trump says Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a ceasefire it's partially holding. And we speak to the World Health Organization in Africa for an update on Ebola. That's BBC NewsHour at 9 on WNYC.
Low 60s and sunny right now. Sunny and 76 for a high today. Sunny tomorrow and 81. Sunny Thursday in mid-80s. Friday and Saturday sunshine. High temperatures in the low 90s according to this forecast. We'll see how it turns out. Alternate side parking and the meters are in effect on this Tuesday. And then looking at your subways, multiple delays. Check before you go.
A gold rush for uranium? Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Wealth Enhancement, providing financial planning that may include retirement planning, investment management, and tax planning services. Information about comprehensive planning is available at wealthenhancement.com/build. And by GEP, helping companies navigate global supply chain challenges through procurement and supply chain strategy services and its AI-native platform, GEP Quantum Intelligence.
From Marketplace, I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer in Washington. One of the nation's largest uranium companies, the Uranium Energy Corporation, is reporting earnings tomorrow. This comes as the uranium industry is boosting production. The U.S. is looking to nuclear power to help meet growing electricity needs, and a key ingredient, of course, is uranium. Right now, we import most of it from countries like Canada and Kazakhstan, but as Marketplace's Caitlin Tan reports, that wasn't always the case.
Back in the 30s in Wyoming, a few people called a now ghost town home on the range. For real.
Yeah, believe it or not, if you got a letter postmarked there, it would be home on the range.
Robert Gregory is a University of Wyoming geologist. He says in the 50s, a uranium investor came to town.
His last name was Jeffrey, and so it became Jeffrey City.
It became the epicenter of the nation's uranium boom through the 70s. But then came the partial meltdown at 3 Mile Island.
When something like that happens, people rethink nuclear power.
Uranium mining slumped for decades.
There's been a huge resurgence in that mining, driven by this demand for AI data centers and the government policies.
Morgan Bazilian is with the Colorado School of Mines. This year, the federal government invested billions into the uranium supply chain.
It does seem like the beginning of a boom.
6 mines are operating, up from 3 in 2021, and much of it in Wyoming.
We're in the expanding and restarting existing facilities phase.
Rainey Linz is with the Wyoming State Geological Survey.
Prices would certainly have to be higher, I think, for most new projects to start up.
Uranium is around $85 a pound. Industry says it needs over $100. I'm Caitlin Tan for Marketplace.
Let's do the numbers. The FTSE in London is up more than 0.1%, but the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures are all down in the 1 to 0.4% range, with the Dow future down 250 points. The 10-year Treasury yield is up at 4.44%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Bitwarden Password Manager. Whatever travel plans this summer has in store, Bitwarden is designed to give users secure access to all of their accounts across any device, anywhere. Available at bitwarden.com. And by Mercury, business banking and financial software to help entrepreneurs send money, create invoices, pay bills, and more. Learn more at mercury.com. And by Odoo.com, providing business management software with integrated programs for accounting, manufacturing, and operations. Odoo, all your business on one platform.
It's been about 4 months since President Trump threatened sanctions against countries supplying much-needed oil to Cuba. It adds pressure to an economy already struggling with shortages, inflation, rolling blackouts, and the effects of the long-standing U.S. embargo. Marta Nunez Sarmiento, a sociologist and retired professor, has lived through almost every major chapter of Cuba's modern economy. She walks us through how Cuba's economy has changed over the decades.
I'm Marta Nunez Sarmiento. I'm a sociologist and a retired university professor. I was brought up in a very elitist American school in Havana. My classmates were all from American diplomats or American owners of big industries or Cubans that were very rich and very much linked to the United States. In January of 1961, there was a literacy campaign. We were 6 million Cubans, 1 million were illiterate. Then I joined the literacy campaign, and I knew what poverty was, that poverty smells, you can touch poverty. For me, it was very shocking. After the Berlin Wall fell, we started in a crisis, horrible crisis in the 90s. We were on our own. There was a way getting out of that through tourism. And the incomes from tourism were used to create the pharmaceutical industries based on biotechnology. In 2021, 3 COVID vaccines were produced in Cuba, but the budget went to protect Cubans from COVID. So in 2022, Cubans started fleeing the country. From 2022 to 2025, 2 million Cubans have left the country. There's also a lot of young professionals who left the country. There are a lot of old people living on their own, and many of those recent migrants, they're in a very unstable situation, so they cannot send them regular remittances. The general mood is stress. We're in a hole. We're in a deep hole. And there's no light at the end. We're having insomnia. We're having depressions. Every family budget goes mainly buying food. That's the main thing. Food. We have a rationing card, but there's zero private. In my neighborhood, of course, the first topic of conversation whenever we meet is, the blackouts, it's too hot. Second topic of conversations, the food. Third topic, the medicines. And then we start talking about the soap operas, the Cuban and the Brazilian soap operas. That's what we're speaking of in my neighborhood. Of course, people are also criticizing the government, but the mistakes of a government, yes, they delay the investments in the energy system, but they're doing their best to keep us alive. And the big question is the embargo, the blockade. Remember those mafia people in your American movies? They'd put a chains around you, or they put us in a cement and then into the Hudson River and say, come on, start swimming. That's how we are. So it's very hard. Well, it's part of being a Cuban in Cuba.
Are Emma Condon, Tamara Fagan, Ashley Rodriguez, Ariana Rosas, and Erica Soderstrom. Our senior producer is Alex Schroeder. Our supervising senior producer is Meredith Gerritsen-Morby. In Washington, I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer with the Marketplace Morning Report. We're from 8 p.m., American Public Media.